Hey guys, in today's video, I want to show you a quick tip on how you can create auto resizing text boxes within After Effects. So the first thing I want to do is I want to thank Momo Graphics for teaching me how to do what I'm about to show you. The first thing you need to do is you need to go down to the description and download the two files that I have linked to my Google Drive, and you need to place them in your documents, Adobe After Effects 2020, or whichever version you're using, user presets, and place them in there. Once you've copied and pasted those files in there, and if you're not comfortable downloading the files and putting them on your system, I have included the algorithms down in the description below that you can hand type on your own. Once you put those in there, if you have After Effects open, you're going to need to shut it down and restart it. Once After Effects is open, let's create a new comp. Let's just call it tComp, 1920 by 1080. 10 seconds is fine. Now within here, we want to create a new text layer. Let's just say hello world. Now the problem is After Effects always puts the anchor point at this position with any text layer that you create. And you know, this might work for you, but if you need to do rotation or any kind of animation, or maybe you want to change the size of the text, that anchor point stays where it's at and it doesn't stay at a logical place on the text layer. And another quick note, this auto center anchor point effect that I've given you works on shape layers. It works on pretty much any layer, every layer that has an anchor point, which is everything in After Effects. So we have this anchor point down here, and let's say we want it to always be in the center no matter how many lines we type, or we always want it to be on one of these 8 different handles. The way we do that is we come over to the text layer, we twirl down to transform, we're going to highlight anchor point, and we're going to go into animation, apply animation preset, and load this auto center anchor point effects file that you downloaded from the description below. And now it's going to put that anchor point dead center of this text layer. And no matter how many lines I type, how wide it is, anything, the text layer will always be centered on that anchor point. So I could type 1 line, and now it's auto-centered. I type 2 lines, auto-centered. And you see what's happening that is really cool is it's keeping your text centered wherever your anchor point is. Now let's say we didn't have that. Let's get rid of this. And if we type 1 line, 2 line, 3 line, now we've got to reposition everything because we want all of our action to take place around our anchor point. And that just doesn't work. So let's undo this, get back to where we had the expression involved. Now what we can do is we can resize it, we can rotate it, we can scale it, we can do whatever we want. And if you'll notice, the anchor point down here always changes if I resize the text because it's always auto-centering. Now what's also cool about this is that I've included in the expression, if you twirl down this handle on anchor point, you can actually see the expression. What I did was I included a reference chart. All of this stuff right here at the top, you don't want to change because these are the variables that are defining the algorithm. This is the part you want to change right here. This first part defines the X value, the second part defines the Y value. So depending upon where you want your anchor point, right now I have my anchor point dead centered on the X-axis and the Y-axis, which means right here the X-center is L+W divided by 2. You can see it right there. The Y-center is T+H divided by 2. You see that right there. Now let's say I want the anchor point to be centered vertically, but I want it on this handle right here on the left side. All I have to do is change the X value to just be L. Now, you can see it moves the anchor point over there. let's say we want the anchor point to be in the bottom right-hand corner. So what I would do is bottom right-hand corner. So I know I want it on the right, which is L+W. And I want it on the bottom, which is T+H. Now the anchor point is down there on the bottom right-hand corner. And so many other things that you can do. Basically, however you want it, you just change the X and Y value right here based on this reference chart right here to what you want it to be. Always make sure there's a comma separating the two. All right, let's go back to where it's center, center, and I'll show you the second part of this, which is auto-resizing a shape layer to make a text box based on your text. Now what we want to do is we want to create a shape layer behind this text that will auto-resize based on how much text we have. This is great for lower thirds. This algorithm, what we have to do is create a shape layer, and this algorithm only works on rectangle tools and rounded rectangle tools. It will not work on ellipse tools, polygon tools, or star tools, just on these two. So let's create a rectangle. Let's double click to make it full size. Now we need to move this shape layer below the text layer. And now that we have the shape layer, what we have to do is we have to add two slider controls. So we go up to Effect, Expression Controls, Slider Control, and let's do that again. Effect, Expression Controls, Slider Controls. Now it's very important that we rename these exactly as I'm about to show you. The first one, you highlight it, you press Enter, capital X, underscore, margin. The second one, probably guessed it, is capital Y, underscore, margin. If you don't add these sliders, and if you don't change them to these exact names, the algorithm, the expression, the animation, whatever it's called, will not work. So now that we got these two named, we come back to the shape layer. Let's twirl it down. Under Contents, Rectangle, and Rectangle Path, and then let's twirl down the transform. We want to select Size, and we want to select Position. On a Mac, you would click Size, hold down the Command button, and then Position. And then on Windows, Size, Control, and Position. Once you have those two selected, come back up to Animation, apply Animation Preset, and resize Box to Text, and click Open. Now you can see our box is resized to our text, but there's no margin. That's where these sliders come into play, because now we can create a little bit of margin within our box. And just for what it's worth, we can add roundness to the corners. Let's do that, just give it a little bit of stylistic nature. And what I can do now is I can go in and I can change these text and watch how the box will auto resize. So now you have a text box that auto resizes to the size of the text, and you can use these for lower thirds or any other things that you have going on within your animation composition. The one thing of note is that on the shape layer, the position is being driven by the text. So you cannot change the position of the text layer. You cannot change the position of the shape layer on the shape layer. If you want to change the position of the shape layer, you have to do it on the text layer. And that is right here. So now we can move it all around. You can change the scale. You cannot change the rotation. Let me show you what happens if you change the rotation. It gets all messed up. Also, the opacities are driven independently, but you can always pick whip those to each other if you'd like to do that as well. And also, if I come in here and I change the size of the font, you can see that the text box changes as well, keeping the margins that we defined on the shape layer. I hope this helps you. It saves me a ton of time, especially being able to have these animation presets already loaded on my system. Again, if you don't feel comfortable downloading those files, I've included the algorithms down in the description below, and you can hand type them yourself, and then you can save the animation presets on your own.